Our biggest problem is success. That's our biggest problem. See, the biggest problem that you and I can experience is when things are good, because ultimately we're not building this company to be good. We're building this company to be great. And I've learned this, that actually failure is not the biggest enemy of greatness. Average is not the biggest enemy of greatness. Good is the biggest enemy of great. And for this reason, our theme for 2024 is good to great. The primary reason so few leaders and organizations ever become great is because they get good. They get comfortable. They get soft. We start taking it for granted. We get good and then we stop. So I wrote down 5 dangers of success. Number 1 is overconfidence. In 1996, a group of people who tried to scale Mount Everest had to face the drastic consequence due to overconfidence bias. They faced a snowstorm on their way that resulted in the death of 8 people. 2 of the 8 people were professionals mountaineers. They were the group leaders. They had scaled Everest before. They had done it a number of times. They knew this, that to safely finish their descent, their deadline to reach the peak was 2 p.m. in the afternoon. But due to some delays and snowstorms the team faced and difficulties, they actually crossed the deadline of 2 p.m. And these 2 elite mountaineers said, okay, we know what the deadline is, but we're going to proceed anyways. We'll be fine. We've done this before. We're professionals. The 2 were confident that they would be able to scale safely, but this overconfidence led to the death of their team, and they faced a strong snowstorm that they weren't expecting on the other side. One of our biggest enemies is overconfidence, because man, look how good we are. Look how well we've done. Look at all the wins we've got. Too many people use their track record or their prior successes as evidence that they've arrived. We're in trouble if we start believing in our own headlines. We're in trouble because once we start getting a formula for success, we write it down, we build the manual, and then we document the formula, but that's the problem. We lost that hunger. We lost that humility. And success has a brutal side. It can make you arrogant. It can make you complacent, and it can make you close your mind. Question for you. Are you hungry, humble, and willing to hustle, or are you overconfident? We're talking about 5 dangers of success. The second one is complacency and a loss of motivation. Blockbuster, a VHS and DVD rental company, started in 1985, and they grew to 9,000 stores across the globe. But in the year 2000, a little startup company called Netflix began to make waves with a new model. The leaders at Blockbuster called Netflix a fad. Oh, it's just a fad. Look at this little startup. And then ultimately, fast forward to today, Blockbuster went bankrupt, and today Netflix is worth $200 billion as a company. Ultimately, it was the cancer of complacency that killed Blockbuster. See, this is what happens. You experience a little success, you start taking it easy. You ignore a competitor, your team, you ignore your company, and then it's too late and the business collapses. Andrew Grove, former CEO of Intel, said this: success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive. We can't get complacent or lose our motivation and just think because of all the wins we've had over the last few years, we'll keep having them. And I want to encourage you that how can these points apply to your business, your channel? Here's number 3, playing it safe. As we grow as a company, we need to be wise. We have legal counsel. We are careful to avoid decisions that could be fatal. However, if we're going to be great, we have to be willing to continue to take risks. We have to be willing to keep embracing change. We are young. I'm only 40 and I plan to live to 120. Our company is only 8 years old and we are just getting started. Number 4 is the neglect of personal growth. Leaders of successful organizations are tempted to stop working on themselves. Are you committed to working on yourself in 2024? See, they continue to work hard on their job, and this is a big difference. It's not just about working hard on your job or your YouTube channel. Are you working hard on yourself, on your character, on your mindset, on your knowledge, on your abilities, on your health? See, when people start getting complacent, they maybe still like do what's necessary at their job, but they have a tendency to neglect personal growth. They use their experience and their track record as a license to never read another book and an excuse to never attend another developmental course or event in their field. They point their claim and accomplishments, and they point to their claim and to their accomplishments, and they decide to rely on the skills they've learned in the past for the rest of their career. They develop an arrogance of intelligence that leads to disabling ignorance. And ignorance disables them, their people, and as a result, their business. And then finally, number 5, ethical compromises. You know, the Bible records a story of King David, and it reveals that when he should have been on the front lines of battle, instead he was on the front porch getting distracted by a woman who wasn't his wife, which ultimately led to an affair and a domino effect of issues in his life that affected his community, the kingdom he was leading. And so ethical compromises start to become a little bit easier when we believe our own press, when we start to experience success. These are 5 dangers of success that we have to be careful of. And so the question is, as we go into 2024, what mindset do we need to make sure we don't fall into these 5 traps that we just learned about? And how can you actually decide, listening to this podcast, okay, what's my mindset going to be in 2024? Well, there's 2 options. You can either have a maintenance mindset or you can have a growth mindset. And the one that we're going to have at Think Media is we got to have a growth mindset. The growth mindset says, I never arrive in my business or my personal life. I will never get to a place where there's nothing more to be done and nothing more to be said and nothing more to be learned. The goal of business is to strive to our full potential. And full potential means focusing on seeing how far can you go? How good can you get? And how many people can you bring with you? Imagine what was possible for you if you maintain a growth mindset. You know, building your YouTube channel, it's not about comparison. How far can you go? Not how far are your competitors going. How good can you get? How much can you compete with the person you are yesterday? Come on, you know our mantra. We get 1% better with every upload. How many people can you bring with you? In fact, who's waiting on the other side of you getting uncomfortable, punching fear in the face and pressing record? I would have never imagined that there would be a studio audience during this Think Media podcast. And now there's all these incredible humans who have incredible families and children and the difference that our small company can make. And we are just a tiny sliver of the creator economy. Imagine you getting out of fear, getting out of complacency, and stepping out. How far can you go? How good can you get? How many people can you bring with you? That's the growth mindset. And reality dictates this, that we're probably never going to reach our full potential. The spirit of this entire podcast is not arrogance, like we even think we're so good. That's not what we think at all. We just want to do our best. And we've got huge goals. We want to help 1 million purpose-driven people go full-time on YouTube and make a difference in the world with YouTube and experience that success without losing their soul. I don't know if we're going to reach that number, but we're going to keep striving for it. And the reality dictates that we might not reach our full potential, but the journey is what we're committed to, because the journey keeps you humble, it keeps you hungry, and it keeps you focused. So a growth mindset sees success as a stepping stone, not a pedestal. Growing people grow people. And so at our company, as we are really in our leadership event, we also want to think about that our personal growth is also not just about us. When you grow, it inspires the person on your left, the person on your right. Maintenance people don't grow. And when you don't grow, you plateau. It's just a matter of time. Once it happens, you plateau everyone working with you. If the leader goes flat, my influence with everybody in my organization will fizzle and fade. And when the leader doesn't grow, people don't grow. It's called the law of the lid, and stagnant leaders stunt the growth of an organization. Great organizations, they always step up. Good organizations, they always back up. A lot of the quotes in this podcast I'm stealing from John Maxwell, and I wasn't going to give him credit. But at that point, I felt too much pressure because that line was too good. And so a growth mindset says, I need to step up to a new level, and I want to challenge you. 2024, you need to step up to a new level. If you enjoyed this podcast and are ready for some deep dive YouTube strategy, just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to my 1-hour on-demand YouTube strategy class. You'll be looking over my shoulder as I share my best tips, and you can watch it on demand right now at thinkmasterclass.com.